This is Marshall Masters for Yowza.com, that's YOWUSA.com, and today we're going to cut to the chase with Guardians of the Looking Glass. Fact or fiction? On March 10th, 2022, a group who identified themselves as the Guardians of the Looking Glass came out with the first of 3 disclosures, and what they really tell us is that if we fail to act, the end of America begins on April 18th, 2022. Thankfully, the April 18th, 2022 false flag was a non-event. If it had happened, it would have been a car bomb in Times Square or nearby that would have taken thousands of lives. However, one thing we need to do before we take a victory lap is to understand that absent proof of concept, a non-event is only that. Let me repeat this point. Absent proof of concept, a non-event is only that. So, where does that leave us? We're back to the basic question, is this fact or fiction? Are the Guardians of the Looking Glass authentic? Or are they imposters? We raised this in our previous Cut to the Chase episode titled Project Looking Glass, New York City 418, False Flag, Trump Q, and Devolution. And in that program, we asked the logical question, is this an AI fabrication? We studied these disclosures, and particularly the text, and read them several times. And what we can tell you is, no, this is not an AI fabrication. What we saw and what we reported in the last program was something we call tells. This is a term used by poker players. These are nonverbal gestures you do unknowingly that signal to other players if you have a weak hand or a strong hand. And what we were saying is that we saw tells that indicate that whoever did the first 3 disclosure videos are actually conducting time travel. That brings us to the 4th video posted on April 22, 2022. Urgent, timeline changes, CERN reactivates. This 4th video, we believe, was a turn for the worse for this group, as we are going to explain in this program. Our program is divided into 4 parts. Part 1, summary of the findings. Our show is cut to the chase, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Then, in Part 2, we're going to take a look at the original Guardians and what distinguishes them. In Part 3, we will then take a look at the hijackers in comparison with that. And then finally, in Part 4, proof of concept, we're really tackling the relevant question now, that being proof of concept to re-establish the group. And with that, let's get into it. Part 1, summary of the findings. The Guardians started their disclosure efforts on March 10, 2022, when they started several social media channels. They described themselves as follows. We are the Guardians of the Looking Glass. We are a group of former intelligence officers and military officials who have come together to release classified information about future events to come. After opening their channels, they released the following 4 videos. So let's take a look at this posting history. March 10th, the first disclosure video is posted the day that they open their channels, and it's titled Event 1, April 18, 2022, New York City false flag bombing. Then on March 17th, a second video was posted, and this was an interesting one because it referred to itself as a separate addendum, and it's titled The 2030 Singularity, 2 timelines, 1 outcome. I believe of the 4 videos, this is the most profound. Then, March 23, the second disclosure video is posted. And this really builds on the first one that was released on the 10th. It's titled Event 2, May 20th, 2022, Assassination in Asia. Then the 4th video, which I have called the Golden Amulet Recruitment video, titled Urgent Timeline Changes. CERN reactivates. One thing we looked at with this was the posting frequency, and we can see that the first 3 disclosure videos are approximately 1 week apart, whereas the 4th, which is the Urgent Timeline Changes CERN reactivates, came out a month after the 3rd video. Now that means there was a full month to infiltrate and compromise the original group. What we are saying in this cut to the chase episode is that we now believe that this effort has been hijacked, which means that the original group is compromised. That's the downside. On the upside, this hijacking gives heightened credibility to the first 3 videos, which we now designate as having a high probability of authenticity. This is because over the last 20 years, I have seen this hijacking pattern replay time and again as one group of light workers after another are infiltrated, and like they say, old tricks are the best tricks. The nice thing about old tricks is you can learn how to spot them, and that's what we did, and that's why we know this is a hijacking. But what about our original guardians? What will be of them? Be vigilant, like bad pennies. The original Guardian authoring group will turn up again. That's not a boisterous claim. It's because what I see in the original Guardians is what I value most: integrity. Part 2. Original Guardians. My motto has always been the audience is everything, because to me, it's all about integrity. And I see this same devotion to integrity in the first 3 disclosure videos. So let's take a look at them, and let's review the passages that really do talk to integrity. We're going to begin with Event 1, April 18th, 2022, New York City false flag bombing. Now, this is the very first one they came out with on March 10th, and their warning was what follows is the most recent, most important event we must act to change. The date of the first event is April 18, 2022. On this date, a false flag attack will occur in New York City. A bomb will be set off, killing 2,000 Americans instantly and injuring thousands. The bomb will be housed in a large van and set off on or near Times Square during a busy time. This is integrity because they're giving us specifics. They're not phrasing this so that they can always worm their way out of a false prediction. It's very straightforward. And this pattern goes on into the third one, which was Event 2, May 20th, 22, Assassination in Asia. In that, they say, according to our data, if the April 18th event is prevented, the next date of an event that must be prevented is May 20th. On this date, an operation will occur out of the public eye, never reported in the media. This operation will take place in Southeast Asia and involve the assassination of a former Chinese military scientist. They go on to say, Dr. Wu's work and project, which is almost entirely unknown at this time, is critical to stopping the negative outcome and instead bringing about the positive outcome. This is why the negative forces are specifically concerned about him and targeting him. Dr. Wu's project is called Raindrop. Through his work, using quantum computing, he is able to do great damage to the European power structure in the coming years. This mention of the negative and positive outcomes actually was first described in their second video, the 2030 Singularity, 2 timelines, 1 outcome. I'm going to show you what I believe are the best passages for both the negative and positive timeline in this video that go to integrity. Let's start with the negative timeline. Here they tell us, through all of this, the ultimate source of power located in Europe never changes. In fact, the Europeans in charge of this negative timeline outcome, who are steering humanity towards its destruction, only gain more and more power. I found this to be stunning because they're really telling us who the bad guys are. We're looking at China, we're looking at Russia, not that they're saints, but where is the real evil in the world? It's located in Europe. Now let's take a look at a positive timeline message. This new timeline also showed a singularity occurred in the year 2030 during a cosmic event, also foreseen in the negative timeline. Except this cosmic event had a very positive outcome because the power structure in place was not able to engage in its destructive activities, which would lead to the cosmic event causing extreme destruction of human beings. Extreme destruction, my friends, means 9 out of 10 of us die. But the operative term here that is important is cosmic event. We believe the 2030 cosmic event will happen during the Planet X system flyby. So between now and then, what's it all about? In a word, it's about commitment. Namely, their commitment and our commitment. So let's take a quick look at our commitment first. This comes from the first video, Event 1, And they say, if these videos are spread and shared by thousands of people, the events can be changed. If the videos are not spread and shared, then the events cannot be changed, and the most negative timeline is then solidified and set in stone. Well, I believe the March 18th non-event was a direct result of us stepping up and accepting that commitment. And what is it? Simply spread the word. Just share this information with others. With that in mind, now let's look at their commitment. And when I'm saying their commitment, I am talking about the original guardians of the Looking Glass who posted the first 3 disclosure videos. And what they say is, we also have provisions in place so that our uploads will continue all the way to the year 2029 without interruption. We are a moderately sized group of individuals located around the world who have sworn an oath to act as guardians and do all in our power to ensure our purpose is fulfilled. We collectively hold years of training in military and intelligence operations, and we are confident that no matter how we are attacked, we will prevail. And what is the operative part of this passage? It is, we are confident that no matter how we are attacked, we will prevail. These people are in it for the duration. This is not a game. And every part of their messaging in the first 3 disclosure videos has consistent integrity, which we will now compare with the hijackers. Part 3. The hijackers. The 4th video, Urgent Timeline Changes, CERN Reactivates, was published on April 22, 2022. And it begins at the top with, because of your work, the April 18th attack was stopped. That's it. That's all the congratulations we get for risking being humiliated and mocked by friends and family for sharing this information? This is a pretty miserly thanks. And frankly, when I read this, the first question that came to my mind is, are we on the same side? When you look at what they say next, that puts it in perspective. You may have noticed in the news that there were some strange events that led up to that date in New York City. That date? That reminds me of Some People Do Some Things. Remember that? These events were partly related to the planned attack and also related to some timeline disruptions that took place because CERN was reactivated. So let's put this in perspective. We have this miserly recognition. It's not even a congratulations, thanking us for picking up the cause and being committed. And then they add to it that CERN was reactivated, which means it was all pointless to begin with because the bad guys have a workaround. However, what they say following that is what is most troubling. They say, our sources in the US and European governments told us that our videos reached such a wide audience that they had no choice but to change plans. We have asked our sources if they plan to delete our videos, and we have been told that is being considered. They are extremely upset with what we are doing. So, this brings us to the operative phrase. Our sources plan to delete our videos. Let me read that again. Our sources plan to delete our videos. Now, this is an oxymoron because a source with the power to censor is not a source. Let me repeat that. A source with the power to censor is not the source. Ergo, we have caught them in a misrepresentation. However, it is not until the last paragraph that we see the hijack agenda. That paragraph reads, "Now for the chosen who are watching. You must decipher the new codes we placed in this video. Once unlocked, you will have a mission to find a golden amulet, once touched by both Jesus and the prophet Muhammad, and many other sanctified teachers and prophets over the centuries, and passed down through generations of other chosen lightworkers. This amulet has been lost for over 300 years. We were shown in the looking glass data that it must be found and activated if the negative forces try to change the timelines. They are trying with CERN. The only way to stop them is to find the golden amulet and activate it so that the chosen can use it as a counter against them. Begin your search for the codes and email us with what you have found. Resist the negative energies around you that will try to stop you." This was not written by somebody of integrity. This is written by somebody who wants to turn the guardians of the looking glass into a laughingstock, a clown car. Think about it. The Chosen and the Golden Amulet? Is this a Lord of the Rings prequel? I mean, it just makes you think that these are a couple of guys sitting in a bar and they're drinking scotch on an expense account and cooking this up. So, let's look at the operative phrases. The Chosen, Jesus and the Prophet Muhammad, find the golden amulet and activate it. Let me read these operative phrases again. The Chosen, Jesus and the Prophet Muhammad, find the golden amulet and activate it. Or in other words, this is audience targeting. The chosen, according to this, are all those who pray to the God of Abraham. So who do these hijackers pray to? And why are those of different faiths, such as Buddhists and Native Americans, all back of the bus and whatnot when it comes to the rewards of being chosen? So, what is our final position on the hijackers and their fourth video? Caveat emptor. Let the buyer beware. These hijackers are selling pure snake oil. And that's the long and the short of it. Which again brings us back to the question, are the original guardians gone forever? As we said before, like bad pennies, they'll turn up again. But when they do, how could we know them? How could we trust their integrity once more? And that is the question. Part 4. Proof of concept. Given what we learned about the hijacking in the fourth video, if someone were to ask you, time travel, anyone? would you not be skeptical? If you're a critical thinker, you betcha. And so, on April 22nd, I wrote an email to the Guardians of the Looking Glass, and I will read it as follows. Dear Guardians of the Looking Glass, I am Marshall Masters, host of Cut to the Chase, cttcradio.com, the publisher of Yowza.com. I'm reporting on your work, and our initial report was posted on April 17 as follows. Rumble.com, April 17, 2022, reposted to YouTube on April 22nd, 2022. It is titled Project Looking Glass, New York City 418, False Flag, Trump Q, and Devolution. I saw what they did to you folks on Rumble. One of the trolls that attacked you bragged about it while attacking me. It wasn't lovely, and I see your point about being trolled. The Rumble discussion policy seems to be optimized for trolls and disinformation operatives at the expense of content producers. You are asking people to put themselves at risk to pursue this mission. With this in mind, I invite you to consider the hallmark of good prophecy, that being a benign harbinger event to show the mindful they are on the final timeline of that prophecy. In terms of promoting your work, is it not fair to provide volunteers with a proof of concept? If so, it should be a benign event without a loss of life so that we only observe a time marker as opposed to a tragedy. In the next few weeks, the ideal harbinger event would be geological or atmospheric, nothing artificial. For example, a long dormant volcano on an uninhabited island suddenly erupts, or a cyclone unexpectedly veers and collapses before landfall. I look forward to your reply. Respectfully, Marshall Masters. I sincerely believe that the original Guardians never received this email, because that's what happens when people are hijacked and their efforts are hijacked. They lose access to the accounts, email, social media, so forth. And I hope they heard it, and I hope they respond, because as I always like to say, people we must take one at a time, but if we cannot love our own species, who in the universe will? And with this, I want to send a little personal message to you original Guardians, the ones that brought out those first three, not the yutzes who did the fourth one. You knew this was going to happen or something similar. It's the life you chose. And you know what? You're going to deal with it because it's who you are. So in the meantime, the only thing I can offer you is illegitimi non corrobundum. Don't let the bastards grind you down. And I'll leave it on that note. So until the next time we meet, remember Marshall's motto. Destiny comes to those who listen, and fate finds the rest. So learn what you can learn, do what you can do, and never give up hope. This is Marshall, and I'll catch you on the backside.